Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the reports of a new change in the political aims of the Rwanda Plan. According to the iNews, the Home Office are aware that implementing the Rwanda Plan, as the government have been describing it to the public, is impossible. So instead, they're going to carry out what is being called a proof of concept. That is, they're going to carefully target asylum seekers who are considered very low risk of presenting a legal challenge against deportation, put them on a plane, send them to Rwanda, just so they can get their headlines that a plane with some asylum seekers on it has gone to Rwanda. At which point they will declare the plan in operation, Sunak a strategic genius, and hope nobody asks too many follow-up questions. But how is even this supposed to be possible when we consider the obstacles? So first of all, what are the major obstacles? The first is the Supreme Court. They have stated that the Rwanda Plan, as it existed last autumn, did not comply with the law. They were clear they didn't just mean the European Convention on Human Rights, but UN and even domestic UK law was being breached. So the government can do nothing until the Supreme Court have declared the plan to be lawful, and they can't do that without changing either the nature of the law or the nature of the Rwanda Plan. Rishi Sunak claims that his Rwanda safety bill will do this. In reality, it doesn't make the plan lawful and it doesn't change the plan. It just stops the courts being able to say anything. The House of Lords are currently objecting to the bill in its original form and have already amended it twice. Parliament returns today, and according to this article, the bill is expected to pass into law this week. Now, I've seen the mainstream media say that they expected the bill to pass into law before and it didn't actually happen, so I'm taking this with a pinch of salt. But of course, it may be possible that Sunak accepts some amendments. There will inevitably be discussions behind the scenes between the government and influential peers, as well as influential backbenchers. All Sunak needs his legislation to do is allow a plane to take off for Rwanda, carrying some asylum seekers. The article quoted one official call it an election vanity scam. So Sunak doesn't actually need his legislation to allow him to implement the Rwanda Plan as it has been stated to the public. It just has to allow him to look like it has. He will then claim that he's solved another problem that bedeviled his predecessors and how the naysayers were wrong, and then call the election before anyone expects a second plane to take off. Remember, the objection of the Supreme Court was largely, as I understood it, centred on the notion that not all asylum seekers would be safe in Rwanda. So if the Home Office come up with a way of adjusting the plan, at least in the short term, to take account of this, maybe the Supreme Court would say that's okay now. To filter out any asylum seekers who would be deemed at risk, then you can see how the government might be able to play this. It's still unlikely to happen quickly. There will still be legal challenges against the scheme in general, as well as for individuals who are selected. The government may be fine with this as long as those challenges fail. After all, they still don't have a plane to take them. And this article notes that the airfield hasn't been prepared yet anyway. But going back to that civil servant quoted, they said all they want to do is put somebody on a flight and call the election right after claiming victory. So let's consider how this could work. Sunak agrees to some amendments with the House of Lords. The bill passes into law. Remember, the Lords are only trying to make sure that the courts are not blocked from ensuring that we are complying with our legal obligations. Let's say the government are able to assure the Supreme Court that they are now mindful of the need to screen asylum seekers for risk of persecution in Rwanda itself. And let's say that works. For example, the government have so far refused to even have the humanity to rule out sending unaccompanied child refugees to Rwanda. So let's say they change their tune and adopt a slightly more responsible attitude in order to meet the legal hurdles. There will still be legal challenges. Sunak will say, okay, he's fine with that, and that they will fail. Or he will attack them as politically motivated by the woke blob. Doesn't matter, one of the two. They proceed anyway. He uses the time to actually find a plane and prepare an airfield. The number of asylum seekers sent will be small. It only needs to be a token, just so that he can have the headline saying asylum seekers are in the air and heading to Rwanda. Besides, most of the houses we funded for them have been sold privately to Rwandan citizens, so it's not like there's much accommodation left for them anyway. Maybe the flight takes off this summer, and then once Parliament returns after the summer recess, Sunak calls the election for October, say. Now, there are lots of other practical problems raised in the article, which you can read for yourself with a link in the description below. But what I've described seems to be the thinking in the Home Office at least. which must mean this is the thinking of James Cleverly, who will have been given his steer by Rishi Sunak. After all, neither Sunak nor Cleverly are really supporters of the scheme. They only adopted it for personal political benefit. Doesn't really matter whether the plan will work as long as Sunak and Cleverly think it will, and then that's what they'll do. They can then have the election take place before anyone would expect a second flight, safe in the knowledge that Labour will be in government by then and will have cancelled the plan altogether. The Tories will blame Labour for the immense waste of money, spending £500 million just to send a GB News audience worth of asylum seekers to Rwanda. This article makes clear that officials at the Home Office know it is impossible to implement the actual Rwanda plan. But if the Conservatives are no longer in government when this has to be proven, then they're in the clear. They'll just say, well, Labour blocked it. It was all fine. We'd actually got it working. And then Labour just stopped it. You know, the idea that thousands could be sent is a nonsense. But as long as this is never exposed to the public before the election, Sunak and Cleverly will not care. Nor when it comes to it, will the characters in the Tory party who backed the plan, such as Braverman and Jenrick, they will just switch from blaming Sunak for the failure to blaming Starmer, who won't give a rat's arse because he'll be dealing with channel crossings with more sensible and legal measures. So if this report is accurate, this appears to be the new Rwanda plan. Just get a plane to take off for Rwanda with some asylum seekers on it, doesn't matter how many, and there will only be one flight. Get those headlines, call the election, and then forget all about it. And if anything still goes wrong with the plan, Plan B, I suppose, will be to blame the courts, the woke mob, and Labour. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.